Please find your Bibles and open them to the book of Isaiah, chapter 55. 2 Sabbaths now, this Sabbath and the next Sabbath, we will be studying the topic of joy, subject of joy, the experience of joy. And Isaiah has to tell us something about joy. Dr. Logan mentioned some of the feelings that we may be experiencing here at the Christmas season. Common to us all, psychologists and psychiatrists tell us many people struggle with the season of Thanksgiving or Christmas season. So are you feeling exasperated, exhausted, or are you excited? I don't know where you are at, but the book of Isaiah has to tell us something about our feelings at this season. Here is Isaiah chapter 55, starting with verse 1. Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters, and you who have no money, come buy and eat. Isaiah 55 begins with some intense feelings. Talks about hunger and thirst. Now, in this country of ours, we don't experience the kind of hunger that Isaiah is talking about. There are very few people in this country going hungry. But if you ever experience hunger and intense thirst, those are very intense feelings. So here it is, Isaiah starts with feeling of thirst and hunger, and those are intense, empty feelings. So this Sabbath morning, are you coming before the Lord in this sanctuary with any kind of an empty feeling? Have you lately had any empty feelings? You must have. Because Isaiah tells us and gives us the solution for those empty feelings, those human tendencies that we experience, those intense emotions that we have of hunger and thirst. And then Isaiah gives us a solution. He has an answer for that empty feeling. And look at verse 12. You will go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and hills will burst into song before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. Verse 1, Isaiah 55, starts with hunger and thirst. Verse 12, you will go out in joy. So here it is, you come to this sanctuary hungry and thirsty, having intense feelings and emotions. And then verse 12, he says, you will go out of this Seventh-day Adventist church. You will go out with joy. Except we need to discover what happens between verses 1 and 12. You come hungry and thirsty. You go out with joy. Let's read the answers that Isaiah has for us in verse 2 now. Why spend money on what is not bread, and your labor on what does not satisfy? It's kind of mean for a pastor to start this kind of sermon now in the Christmas season when all of us are spending anywhere between $1,500 and $2,500 for this season alone. That's an average that an American will spend during this season. Well, if you feel guilty for not spending that much money, I want you to know you're in a good company. Hold on to those credit cards. Because Isaiah tells us here, why spend money on what is not bread and your labor on what does not satisfy? Listen to me. What a preacher. Listen to me. And eat what is good, and your soul will delight in the riches of fare. Why do you labor for things that do not satisfy? What is Isaiah telling us? Here it is. We come with those intense feelings of hunger and thirst, and we think that we can satisfy those feelings with things. Isaiah said, no. If you want to leave this sanctuary with joy, clasping your hands and being abundantly grateful to God for His goodness, you need to discover that joy is not found in things that money can buy. Young folks, joy cannot be found in the things that money can buy. No, I like good things. Oh, I love good things. Boy, I tell you, when I look at the new MP3 players and when I see what they can do and how small they are getting and what kind of music you can put on them, that's terrific. We live in good times. I mean, technology is getting there, giving us all these good things. All the good books that we can read out there. All the new good DVD players, larger and larger screens, computers that can do more and more. Good things. But Isaiah tells us joy cannot be found in the things that money can buy. It simply cannot be found in there. Now, when we were in Croatia, Natalie and myself, we went to this beach together and alone. And at one point, while we were basking ourselves in that sun, I wanted to do something special for Natalie. So I took off, got into my car, and drove quite a distance so I can buy an ice cream cone for her. I thought that would be a nice thing to do for my wife. Surprise her and come back to the beach and say, ta-da, here it is, an ice cream cone for you. Well, I drove through that country road out there in Croatia looking for the place where I can buy the ice cream, and finally I found the place. I ordered 4 scoops. That's the first mistake I did. I ordered 4 scoops of ice cream thinking I really want to surprise her, really want to give her something neat. And there were 4 scoops of ice cream in my hand, and then you know how you drive with 4 scoops of ice cream. In the left hand you hold the ice cream, 4 scoops. With your left knee, okay, I won't go any further. And then with your right hand, you're changing the gears. And there you go. You're holding that Tower of Pisa in your hands, and you're driving and the curvy roads, and you're going really well, doing really well, except that sun coming on my left started melting that ice cream. So here it is now. Not that I was a selfish guy, but I needed to do something about this melting ice cream. So here it is, my left knee is holding that thing, and my right hand is holding that thing, and the ice cream started coming down my left arm, and I started licking it off, making certain those 4 scoops are standing there. And the ice cream started melting now really fast, and I was driving even faster trying to get to Natalie. I parked my car, I rushed downhill toward that beautiful beach we reserved for ourselves. And that ice cream was all over me. All over the steering wheel. All over my legs. And by the time Natalie was done with it, it was all over our beach and sand and towels and everywhere else. And I've learned a lesson, boys and girls. Ice cream is a good thing, but it just doesn't last. It is sweet, it is good, but it doesn't last. So this Christmas season, as you unwrap those gifts and you enjoy your kids, it's great to see them tearing those papers that you have worked all night long in putting them so neatly in those bows and all the decor. It's nice watching them get joyous, but you know after a day or two those toys will stay there and they won't use them anymore. So the lesson from the ice cream cone is the joy that this world or money can buy simply does not last. So we come with those intense feelings of hunger and thirst to this sanctuary. And then verse 12, Isaiah says, we will leave this place with joy. What happens between those verses? Regardless of how delicious that ice cream is, it's temporary. Regardless of how much we love our homes or clothes or toys, all of those things will bring us a temporary joy. So everything wears out eventually. Now, do not labor for that which does not satisfy. Isaiah tells us, do not labor for it. Instead, here is now verse 6. Instead of laboring for what does not satisfy, verse 6 gives us now part of the solution. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near. Now, that's verse 6. So we've studied verse 1 and 2, and then from verse 3 to 5, Isaiah talks about David's heritage. And he talks how this covenant that God made with David is an everlasting covenant, and how one day this grandfather of Jesus Christ, he received the covenant from God, and that covenant will one day be given to us in the Lord. Verse 6 tells us that joy is found in a person. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near. Interesting, this is a good preacher. Isaiah is a good preacher. In this short one verse, he tells us 4 times who is the subject and the object of the joy. Listen to it. 4 times he tells us he. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near. The preacher doesn't want to leave any doubt in our mind as to where the joy is found. Verse 1, you have those intense feelings, intense motions of hunger and thirst. That's what human beings are. I'll never forget when I got Desire of Ages for the first time in my life when I was 18 years old. And when I read those first paragraphs that the editors wrote in Desire of Ages, it hit me hard. 18-year-old, and I've been studying the Eastern religion and being influenced with existentialism and European thinking and trying to be modern. And then I read Desire of Ages, that all of us have this empty hole in us, those intense feelings of thirst and hunger. And until we meet Jesus, that place will be hollow, will be empty. We will not be satisfied until he comes in. And that's the point of Isaiah. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near. So joy is not found in possessions. Joy is not found in philosophy, in politics, in personal achievement. It is found in the person, Lord Jesus Christ. Now, it was very hard for me to discover that joy cannot be found with my own efforts. I remember when I was in Keene, Texas, it was surprising to me in 1979 when I came from Europe and started attending college. At that time, it was kind of popular to find yourself. And I remember 1979 talking to many American students. It was interesting to me as we talked in small groups or larger groups, as we talked about issues of life, when the students would tell me, I need to find myself. That was always kind of interesting to me, finding yourself. I always wondered, where did you get lost? I mean, what's there to find, finding about yourself? I've discovered that you cannot find yourself, you cannot find your joy in yourself, in the narcissistic need for looking for things within us. You cannot find joy in karma. You cannot find your joy in nirvana. According to Jesus' words and Isaiah's words, seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near. He is the subject of our joy. Self-search, The message is not that we cannot find joy in the world. The annoying truth is that we cannot find joy with our own efforts. This is a very important point. It's not that we cannot get excited about things in this world. I love the way this church is decorated. It gives me joy to see what our leaders do with instruments and their talents, the way they sing, the way they pray. I find a lot of joy in it, in the fact that we have color-coordinated church. It's great. And all these things bring a certain kind of joy and satisfaction to hear well-tuned piano and organ and to get that music right. Nevertheless, the annoying truth is that we cannot find joy with our own effort. We must find a joy in the person of Jesus Christ. And now comes Isaiah and teaches us how to do that. How do we come to Jesus Christ? There are three things. Come all you who are thirsty. It tells us that we will find Christ if we have intense feelings, intense desire of finding Him. And He had created already that desire in us, and the first step toward Christ is we must have that hunger and we must have that thirst. That's the first step. Verse 1. And you who have no money, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without cost. He speaks in this verse twice about not having money. Are you feeling bad? Not having money? Well, Isaiah is talking to us. Twice he's saying, come and buy without money. So first, we come to Jesus by having that intense desire that He had awakened within us. And now we come because we cannot save ourselves. We come to Him without money. So number one, we come with intense feelings and desires, understanding number two that we cannot save ourselves. I was in Zagreb, Croatia, about 14 years old, riding my 250 Honda. And when you are 14 and riding a 250 Honda, you're on top of the world. You're the king of the world. Well, I was the king of the world riding through the streets of Zagreb, and then I decided to go behind the mountain and go towards some villages far away from the main city, when suddenly my motorcycle told me that it had some empty feelings. As I was going downhill, it just went, Boy, those empty feelings. I knew I was in trouble. Something happened to my gas gauge, and I didn't know. Suddenly I found myself far away from my home on an empty gas tank, away from anybody, any phones, any way. Cell phones at that time did not even exist. So I was stuck in the boonies, in the hills, mountains of Croatia. Well, I took that Honda 250, and being a stubborn Jew, I pushed it for about an hour and a half. I did not get very far, but it was getting really tough. I tried hitchhiking people, but nobody was caring to stop, and there were very few cars that came by. So I rested for a while. I saw some apple trees in the distance. I walked there and I picked some apples and ate a few apples, and then I started pushing my motorcycle for another 2 hours and 15 minutes when I had seen in the distance the gas station. Wow, my heart started beating with joy and gladness, except when I went through my pockets and I checked myself all over the place. There was not 1 cent with me anywhere, not a penny, not a quarter, nothing. I was empty. Well, I pushed in my motorcycle there at the gas station, and the man saw me from a distance, and he said, "Well, you're having a rough day, aren't you?" I said, "Not even close to it. I'm having it rougher than you can imagine. Here it is, my motorcycle." And then I'm starting to talk like, person laden with all kinds of empty feelings, and I'm starting to say, and this happened to me, and I've been pushing this motorcycle now for almost 4 hours. And what's the worst is I discovered that I don't have money. That is a tough predicament you're in, he says. Well, I'm all kind of desperate and exhausted now, and I know how in that part of the world, nobody knows you, plus I was speaking with a wrong dialect. Don't catch yourself speaking Serbian in Croatian. That's kind of a no-no. And I knew I was, here in the boonies, and you just don't get free things at the gas stations. And as I was kind of depressed and exhausted, truly on empty, the man says, "Listen, here are $20. Fill up your gas tank with some gas." I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. It was such a good news. It was too good to be true. But it was true. He did not know me from Adam. And here it is, a man with a strange accent, with wrong license plates from another state. He knew he would never see me again. And he's giving me $20 to buy gas. I tell you, I learned a very important lesson that day. When I came home, I was filled with such joy and such gratitude that immediately, before even going to bed, exhausted, my legs, my buttocks, my muscles, everything was hurting. But before doing anything else, I wrote a letter, wrote the right address, and wrote it the sweetest words in that letter to that gas station attendant. Now, I bought gas at the gas station hundreds and thousands of times since then. And I must tell you the truth, I don't have any feelings toward gas attendants. But when I think about that gas attendant way back in the 1970s, my heart is filled with joy. Thank you, sir. You pulled me out of trouble. And here is the $20 that you gave me, and I know you gave me not knowing whether I am ever going to see your face again or give it back to you. But thank you for such a grace. Thank you for such love. So here is Isaiah telling us that you should come and buy from God without money. You have intense need. You are riding on empty. You're hungry and thirsty for something we do not have right now. And then God tells us, buy it without money, without any cost to you. So we're studying now 3 ways we can come to Jesus Christ. 3 ways in which we can experience His joy. Number 1, you come to Him with intense feelings. Number 2, you accept things from Him without price. You accept it freely from Him. And then number 3, again, come all you who are thirsty, come to the waters, and you who have no money, come buy and eat. And then come buy wine and milk. First we said without money. Now Isaiah tells us twice, buy it. Is he kind of contradicting himself here? Or what can we learn from Isaiah 55? Here it is. He says, come without money and without cost. Provisions have been made for you. But now he tells us twice, buy it. I often joke, actually, every time I go to the 99-cent store, I joke that a 99-cent store is not a 99-cent store. It's at least a $15 store. You know what I mean? It's never been a dollar store to me. I say to myself, oh, I need gloves to work on the oil in my car, and I need to go to the dollar store and buy some gloves. I've never went to the dollar store spending only $1. It always goes to $9.99 or $14.99 or something like that. And if you go to grocery stores that I know you go to, you know what happens. Here it is, it's an afternoon, you're trying to have a meal, and you look in your fridge and you find out that you don't have any bread in your fridge. So while you're getting out of the house, your wife tells you, hey honey, don't just buy bread, buy us also some milk. Has it happened to you going to the Safeway store buying bread and milk? And what happens? Have you noticed what managers do in the stores? You enter from the Elliott Road and you go to the Safeway at one exit. And first they place there at the first aisles things you really don't need and you never crave eating, like broccoli, like salads. That's the first aisle. Things you never crave. So the first thing, you're bombarded with the things that you think you don't need. And then you go through other aisles, and then they place the things you may crave more than the salads. So then you see some pop and some chips and some other things. And then you go through other aisles, and after you pass through 37 aisles, you come to where you actually wanted to be at. You come back where the bread and milk is. Have you ever noticed where bread and milk is? Your entrance is here, and in that other corner of the store is where bread and milk is. The managers do it on a purpose. Knowing that there are some basic needs you have, and you go for those needs, but before you reach that place, there are 37 aisles you have to go through. And finally, when you come to these new beeping machines, instead of the machine going twice for bread and milk, beep, beep, the machine goes beep, bleep, 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 bleep. It will be $49.95, sir. And you just came for the bread and milk. This is what Isaiah is telling us. You come hungry and thirsty for something you do not have right now. And then Jesus says, come and buy it. Go shopping. And then he interests you with some salads and dip. And then he interests you with other things. And then he presents you with his cakes. Then he leads you to other things that you did not even know of. And you buy from him more than you just came for. You came to quench your thirst and your hunger. Now he's giving you more and more and more. So first we have a desire. Then we come without money. Then we buy from him. I would like us to conclude with this. This is where Seventh-day Adventists struggle a lot theologically. And I would like to just give it to you in an illustration, and I believe you will get the point. I was in Berman Hall at Andrews University in 1983, and I've decided to be very careful about my money and very careful about things. I had anywhere between $25 and $30 to spend on groceries every month. And I was careful about the money. I was careful not to drive my car and to save on gas. And this one time I've decided to go to the Apple Valley on Highway 31. I've decided to go and to walk, to buy that bread and milk that I needed. Well, I bought my groceries and then I started putting them in 2 bags. And actually there was more groceries than just for 2 bags, but I've decided to put it in 2 bags so that I can carry those bags. Well, it was kind of 2 very well-packed bags of groceries. And I was starting to carry them home. Boy, and it's quite a long walk from the Apple Valley store in Berrien Springs to the Berman Hall, which is the last hall on the campus of Andrews University. I remember carrying those groceries, and they were heavy, and after about half a mile, my arms, I could not feel them anymore. So I found a place where I could rest for a little bit, and then I picked up my groceries again, and I was starting to carry them home. Well, somebody spotted me and noticed that I was struggling, and I was more than halfway to the dorm. They stopped their car and they gave me a ride home. I've learned the lesson that particular day that yes, I can be hungry, I can be thirsty, and yes, I can have groceries, but they're really not mine until I take them home. And sometimes taking them home takes an effort. Taking the groceries that Jesus gives us without money and without cost takes effort. We have to accept them from Jesus Christ. And I don't know about you, but for myself, it's very hard to accept things freely. And that person that gave me $20 worth of gas, I had a hard time even accepting those $20. And that person that gave me a ride home to carry my groceries home, I had difficulty accepting their free gift. But Jesus says, yes, we can come before Him with all this thirst and hunger. We can even accept mentally the fact that He's giving us things freely. But now Jesus says, take it home. Take it home with you. Take Him home with you. That's my prayer for all of us here at Paradise Seventh-day Adventist Church. We got Him. We have Him. Let's take Him to our homes. Amen.